In this video, I will be talking about 10-6, more adding and subtracting mixed numbers, which involves problems that require us to add or subtract mixed numbers in more complex ways. First, let's review some adding and subtracting of fractions. So I'll first do an addition problem. Let's say we had 2 1/4 plus 8 2/3. We need to first turn these into mixed numbers with fractions that have the same denominator. So I could pick 12. To get from 3 to 12, I multiply by 4, so my numerator would be 8. To get from 4 to 12, I multiply by 3, so my denominator would be, 3. Now I can add my fractions, which is 11/12, and add my whole numbers, which is 10. So that would be 10 and 11/12. Now let's look at a subtraction problem. 5 1/9 minus 2 2/3. Again, we need to make them have common denominators. So I could choose 9 as my denominator, which would make this bottom fraction 6/9. That should be a 9. Okay, now I can subtract, but I can't subtract 1 minus 6. So I'm going to borrow 1 whole from over here, and the 5 turns into a 4. 1 whole is 9/9. So I had 1/9, now I have 9/9, which in all is 10/9. Now I can subtract 10/9 minus 6/9, which is 4/9, and 4 minus 2 is 2. In 10-6, you'll see some problems that have parentheses in them, so they will require you to do multiple steps in order to reach your final answer. For example, this problem requires me to do what is in the parentheses first, which is subtraction, and then add that on to 6 1/4. What might be helpful for all of these problems is to find a common denominator for all 3 denominators. So remember, when we did common multiples, we learned that you could do kind of a triple M to find a common multiple for 3 numbers. So you could use that strategy to help you find a common denominator. I know that a common denominator for 4, 3, and 8 is 24. So I'm going to go ahead and change all of these numbers into fractions that have 24 as the denominator. And 1 and 15, 24. So now I'll start with the parentheses. I need to do 2 and 8/24 minus 1 and 15/24. But since I can't subtract 8 minus 15, I need to borrow 1 whole, or 24/24 from the 2. 8/24 plus 24/24 is 32/24. Now I can do 32/24 minus 15/24, which is 17/24. 1 minus 1 is 0, so it's just 17/24. So I can cross this part out. That equals 17/24. Now I can do my final step, which is adding the 6 and 6/24 to 17/24. Seventeen plus 6 is 23/24, and 6 plus 0 is 6. So my final answer is 6 and 23/24. So really, I just combined 2 problems together here. We're going to look at another example together that involves parentheses, because those can be a little bit tricky. This one is 5 3/4 plus 1 5/6 minus 6 7/12. So I first need to find a common denominator for all 3 denominators. 4, 6, and 12 have 12 as a common multiple. So I can leave this one the same. I'm going to change 5 3/4 to 5 9/4. I'm sorry, 9/12. I'm going to change 1 5/6 to 1 10/12, and then my 6 7/12 stays the same. I need to first do what's in parentheses, so off to the side I'm going to add my 2 numbers together. 9/12 plus 10/12 is 19/12. 5 plus 1 is 6. 19/12 is 12/12, or 1 whole, and then it would take me 7 more 12ths to get up to 19/12. So 19/12 is the same as 1 7/12. You could also divide 19 divided by 12 and get 1 remainder 7, which is 1 7/12. So I have 6 and 1 7/12, which equals 7 7/12. So this first parentheses equals 7 7/12. Now I'm going to subtract 6 7/12 from that. 7 7/12 minus 6 7/12. Luckily, I don't need to regroup here. 7/12 minus 7/12 is 0 twelfths, and 7 minus 6 is 1, so my final answer is just 1. I want you to go ahead and try this problem on your own. Take it step by step. So the first thing that you're going to need to do is find a common denominator for all 3 of the denominators. And then you'll need to solve the problem inside the parentheses and add that answer onto 4 3/5. Make sure you take your time, slow down, and show your work. Good luck!